Coach Mays, man, it's an honor to have you on the podcast. Welcome.
Yeah, it's good to be back. On a side note, I don't know how many people are on Substack, but they need to be. I think it's a great platform, and
Yes, sir.
I personally have watched your growth over the last 3 months. 3 months ago, how many subscribers did you have?
70, maybe.
And you got almost 450 now?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. So,
It's like
um,
that.
yeah. So kudos to you. I mean, dude, you must never sleep because like you're doing two or three of these a day. And that's what it takes, man. You have to there's value in being obsessed with the pursuit that you're passionate about. And that's what you're doing. So man, I wish you nothing but the best.
Man, I absolutely love doing this. I love talking to new people. I love the game. I love more than just basketball, dude. I love seeing people make it in whatever they love, whatever they're passionate about as well. And if I can connect people, man, oh man, like there's nothing better or more gratifying than seeing or being just part of someone's journey, man. Even if you're in the background, just with the connection or just talking about, what they're doing or what they're passionate about, man. I really love doing that.
Yeah. Your platform is it's a crowded space. I mean, there's a lot of people trying to get into this space. I would just encourage you to be you, and have belief that you're good enough. And I mean, look at your numbers in the last quarter. So you're in a great state that loves, this sport that we all love called basketball. um, it's one of the few states that the high school basketball scene is still respected and sacred. There's not many of those left, because of a lot of reasons. One of being prep schools, but you know, it's you're doing a great job, so I'm really proud of you.
You know what really blew my mind, Coach?
What's that?
In 3 days, 800,000 views on Facebook with 3,000 followers, all organically. 1.6 million views in 28 days with 3,000 followers, all
Yeah.
organically. No paid ads, nothing.
Yep. Consistency, man. See, I had a podcast on this not too long ago, and I was talking to a team on Zoom last night about this. Consistency is more important than intensity. Um, if you can consistently stack days of activity that will lead to your business growth, this platform's growth, there'll be moments that you'll need intensity. Intensity is needed. But right when you get to the point of leveling up, like you hit a wall, you're like, okay, I've got to level up. I've got to
Mhm.
take the next step, whether that's a financial investment in your technology or whatever that may be. Intensity is needed at that point to get to that next level. But the only way you get to that level in the first place is by being consistent in what you're doing. And that's what you're doing right now. That's why you're seeing the growth. So yeah, I'll be one of the guys watching as you take that next step.
Yeah, I've had a lot of thoughts about, what to do next, man. Like, watching Substack, like a lot of people don't even know what the platform Substack is. Like a lot of my
Hmm.
guests are like, "What's Substack?" And
Yeah,
it's not popular like X or Instagram or Facebook. It's not like that. But
it's
I
growing
really
though.
it's really growing, and I think it may take the place of X one day. I'm not sure,
Yeah,
but I just love the views. I love the writing. I love the material, the content that's what's on this platform, man. Like I think it's a platform for voices and unique voices at that, and it gives us opportunity to talk about what we're passionate about and educate people and inform people and just speak our minds. I really, really do love Substack.
yeah. I post on it every day.
Yes, sir.
A lot of times, several times a day. I like the long form writing. Like
Mm-hmm.
on X, they have the article option. So sometimes I'll write devotionals in that way, or I'll just write some something interesting that I've read about mental toughness. But Substack has that capability too. So um, it's a way of being a little bit more expressive. I guess from an academic and information rich standpoint versus TikTok, you're just putting flashy 10-second videos on there. I think there's more substance on Substack. People that post on Substack they have a message that's well thought out. It's mature. And so I enjoy the platform.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to get brain rot off Substack.
No, that's a good point.
Yeah,
So what do you
but
want to talk about?
man, you spent nearly 3 decades coaching. Like, take us back to the beginning, dude. Like, what really originally made you want to coach?
I got my first check to be a coach when I was 21. Well, technically, my fourth and fifth year in college, I got work study checks, but I don't know if that counts. But I signed my first contract when I was 21, and I'm 50, so I've been doing this 29 years off and on. I had a break when our first child was born. He had some complications at birth. He's a freshman baseball player at Georgetown College now. So he just finished his first week in college, but I took some time off then. I became a financial planner and a sales trainer, um, and somewhat of a speaker. But then I got back in it. But my first job was with a guy by the name, and if there's any old heads that listen to this, and if there's any young coaches, you need to understand who this man is. Was with a guy named Max Good. Max is from Maine, and he went to EKU, I think in the 50s, maybe early 60s, and was a coach at Madison High School. So this is before Madison Central. Madison High School was a city school in Richmond, and ended up becoming in the 80s the head coach at EKU. And after that stint, he went back to Maine. And if you've ever heard of Maine Central Institute, it's not really known in basketball circles anymore, but man, in the 90s, they were on the cover of Sports Illustrated. So that was my first job offer before I even graduated college. I signed a contract to run intramurals and run a dorm there in Pittsfield, Maine at MCI. And it was postgraduate basketball. We had 13 players, 12 of them signed Division One. We had Karan Butler, DeMar Johnson. Karan obviously played 16 years in NBA, assistant coach of the Heat now. DeMar played, I think, 6 years with the Hawks. We had, gosh, I mean, local guys. Jerron Brown, who's the head coach at Woodford County, was on that team that he ended up going to
Really?
Pitt. Yeah. Just really good. Andre Williams went to Oklahoma State. Um, we had another big and went to Georgetown, like Georgetown University. Avery Queen played at St. John's. I mean, it was crazy. My first night there, I was in Coach Good's apartment, and Sonny Vaccaro was in there spending the night. you
Really?
know, yeah. I mean, also when I was there, Bobby Huggins flies in and on a jet to see DeMar Johnson ended up playing at Cincinnati for Hugs, and there's no place to eat. I mean, chains on tires because of snow. People come to work in snowmobiles. I mean, different life, okay? And you go to the airport and he gets on a plane and I don't even know if I should say this. Of course, it was 30 years ago. Gets on a plane to have Pizza Hut delivered on the plane, and that's his recruiting pitch. But um, it's just it didn't work out because Max ended up taking the assistant job at UNLV with Billy Bano, and so that job for me fell through. And so it was I was scrambling, and I ended up being an assistant coach at St. Catherine Junior College. St. Catherine was
Really?
the
In
only, yeah,
Springfield?
yep. St. Catherine was one of two junior colleges in the state of Kentucky. The other one at the time was Sullivan in Louisville.
Mm-hmm.
And Champ Ligon was an assistant on that for them, and they had some really good players. We had some really good players. So I had I came in and followed Donnie Tyndall. Donnie Tyndall was a young coach at age 24, and then had a player that signed with LSU with John Brady, who now is an assistant coach, I think, at New Orleans, and hired Donnie as well as like the fourth assistant. And that's how Donnie got his coaching career started when he graduated from Moorhead. He coached up, I think, at Iowa Central, a Division II JUCO. Then he got the job at St. Catherine, and then rode that to assistant job at LSU. Then obviously went on to coach at Moorhead and Southern Miss and Tennessee, and now he's arguably the best. He's one of the best coaches in the country, regardless of level. But he's running he's running things at Chipola Junior College in Marianna,
Really?
Florida now. Yeah. So a guy that I worked for is a guy named Ryan Swanson, who was Donnie Tyndall's assistant. Ryan just passed away about a year ago. Ryan was from Hutchinson, Kansas, which is a JUCO capital of the world. It's where the JUCO national tournament
Yep.
is. Ryan played at Hutch. So it's funny because that's where all his connections were. So by Christmas, my first year there, we played more games in Kansas than we did in Kentucky. And so it was, driving a van, and we were 27-10. John Grice, who ended up playing at Memphis, hit a last second shot. Well, you know it is Southwest Tennessee now. Used to be called Shelby State, a junior college in Memphis. Hit a 60-footer to beat us in the regional championship game that kept us from going to Hutch to the national tournament. And we had Joe Sykes had at one time he was committed to Louisville, play for Coach Crum.
What about
He ended
Marla
up playing.
Scott? Was Marla Scott there
No,
when
this
you were
is we
there?
were. I was recruiting Marlis. Okay, Marlis was still in high school. Okay, um, but we had Joe Sykes, who ended up going to Louisiana Tech. Had Derek Huff from Fern Creek, who ended up going to Wisconsin Milwaukee. We had Deshaun Grant, who from Ballard, who ended up going to most athletic player other than Jermaine Brown I've ever coached. Ended up going to Nebraska. We had Clinton Sims, who ended up going to EKU after he went to Boston, went to MCI, Boston College, then St. Catherine, then he went to Eastern. We had Dominic Taylor from PRP. We had Terry West from UHA, who ended up playing at Campbellsville. We had JT Burton. I don't know if JT was the head coach at Tusculum. JT was a
Yeah.
volunteer assistant on that staff with us. We just had, we had a kid from Wilmington that ended up playing North Carolina, played at North Carolina Central, Savon Bailey. We had a guy named Willie Bynum who ended up playing at, I think, Winston-Salem State or somewhere like that. We were good. We had Chad Newby played at Bellarmine. So we had a kid from North Hardin. And a kid from Aaron Knight from Ballard. Both those kids end up playing at Drake. So, I mean, we had like 7 Division I signees off that team. So then, Travis ended up leaving Campbellsville and getting a job at EKU. And I was, he wanted me to join his staff at Eastern. And, Keith Atkins was taking over at Campbellsville. And he said, look, you can go be the 4th guy at Eastern, but Travis, you come here and be my number 1 guy. So I ended up going to Campbellsville. I was there for a month. Keith and I got along great. I think a lot of Keith Atkins, and they took care of me there. I was a young coach at that time. I was probably 22 or 23, and a month later, Steve Payne was the assistant coach at Georgetown College with Happy Osborne. Now, keep in mind, I graduated from Georgetown. So did my wife. My son's there now. We got married at Georgetown College. All right, and Steve Payne ends up taking a JUCO job at Frank Phillips down in Texas, and so the assistant job at Georgetown opened up, and I was offered a job to go back to my alma mater, and was there for 7 years. I worked my way up to the associate head coach, and if I hadn't got out of it, I would have probably been the head coach at Georgetown College. But when our son was born, I got out of it and managed money. I wanted to make money. It was a mistake because I don't think I'm doing well now, but when I try to chase dollars, I'm not the best version of myself. So I try to always focus on service and creating things that can help other people. And so far, most of my life, I've done that in the realm of basketball coaching and leadership. And now I'm still coaching, just I'm coaching this more than I am on the floor now. But I got tired of that, and I ended up getting back into coaching in 2015 at Valdosta State University, one of the best Division II programs in the country. My tagline when I was recruiting kids there was, "This is the most mid-major Division II in the country." And it was. It had 14,000 students. It was bigger than Eastern, bigger than Moorhead, nicer than both of them. Had 6,000 seat arena. The Gulf South Conference was unbelievable. I really relearned basketball in the 2 years I was there. So when I got the job, they were 10-17. We go 17-10 my first year as an assistant, and then the second year we went 26-5, set an all-time win record. We're ranked fifth in the country, made an NCAA tournament. And Jeremiah Hill, he's still playing pro ball, played for the Lakeland Magic in the G League, and we had I ended up signing a Division II Player of the Year, Bo Justice, coach's brother, had great young men, and we turned it around. And the head coach is still there, Mike Helfer, and he and I go way back. It's just such a good time. But see, here's what people don't understand. When I got back into coaching, I left my wife and my two kids in Georgetown, Kentucky. My wife was principal of an
Oh,
elementary school, and for me to do that with her blessing and her prayers, she realized I needed to be a coach again, which is why she's awesome. No coach is going to be successful in that career long term unless they have a great support system at home. And so I went 10 hours south and left my babies and left my wife. And I got back as often as I could. Figured out how to navigate Atlanta traffic, and I did what I was making decent money, but nothing to write home about. So buying flights every other week or so was getting expensive. So
how hard was that mentally though? Like
our
leaving your
marriage
family.
flourished. Our
What?
marriage got stronger. I took a risk. Obviously, the marriage could have went south, but we didn't. And, I think because we had faith in what I was doing, and she was new in her career too. My wife now is one of the higher ups in a school district at Montgomery County. I don't know what her title is now, like director of curriculum and assessment or something. I don't know. But she was a principal for like 15 years. That was her first principal job. And so, she was still driving and striving for greatness in her career. And so I was reigniting my career, and our kids were young. Reagan was a baby. Jace was like in kindergarten, first grade. So, I knew it couldn't be long term, but it got my career restarted. And so Happy Osborne at the time was the head coach at Kentucky Wesleyan. And so he called and he said, "Hey, be my associate head coach. And 2 years from now, you'll be the head coach of the winningest program in Division II history, home to 8 national championships." And, coaching greats like Ray Harper, Wayne Chapman, Rex Chapman's father was the head coach there. Wayne Boltinghouse. Here's one, Guy Strong, who's passed away. God bless his rest his soul. A lot of people know him as the head coach at what we now know as GRC, Clark County. But
Yeah.
that Guy Strong, was the coach there in the late '60s and was really good, and actually had that small college program running. And then from there, he got Division I jobs out of it. So it's just a hotbed of great coaching to come out of there. And so I, was going to be closer to home, but I took the job 1st of August. So my wife and kids couldn't move to Owensboro because her school year had already started. So at least I was closer to home. So this is year 3 of being away from my wife and kids, but now it was only 3.5 hours away. So it was more manageable. Happy quits 6 games, 7 games in the season. Well, I think we were 1-6. Weren't very good. I didn't really have a chance to recruit any of the players there, and he was sort of getting to the sunset of his career. Happy had never lost. Happy had never had a losing season. Happy Osborne, to anybody listening, is the best winner I've ever been around. Anybody played for him will testify to that. That's why I won all those games at Georgetown College. You know, and his health was, he was really stressed, and his health wasn't good. His blood pressure wasn't good, and we get beat by Rick Stansbury and a really good Western Kentucky team one night by like 36.
Ooh.
Next morning, he hangs it up. So I become the interim head coach. First time being a college head coach. And I just got there. I mean, this is November. I got there in August. And we weren't very good. We had a few knuckleheads. Um, but I made a lot of mistakes. It was a valuable lesson. The interim guy never gets a job. It's in the NFL, 11% of interim head coaches actually become the head coach. That's a stat. So I knew it was a tough gig. And so what I should have done, lesson in leadership, is humble myself to the same level of the players
Mm-hmm.
and say, This is y'all's team, y'all's program. How can I help you? But no, what I did was, I'm John Wooden. You're not.
Mm-hmm.
Here we go. This way it's going to be. And we won 7 of our next 8 games and got up to second in the conference. Now, understand, I was coming out of a really good Division II conference. The Gulf South at Valdosta State, Lanny Acuff, who's the head coach at Sanford now, was the head coach at Alabama Huntsville. West Georgia, now in Division One. North Alabama, now in Division One. West Florida, now in Division One. I mean, I was coming out of what I thought was the best conference in the country in Division Two. Okay, and just Jim Boone, who's like one of the best defensive minds to ever coach the game, was at Delta State, and in Mississippi, and just so we climbed to second in the league, and I'm like, hey, this is working. They're buying into this. No, it was fool's gold. It was not sustainable because I was too arrogant, and I learned a lesson from that experience. I don't know if I would have, obviously, if I could do it again, knowing what I know now, I would have done it a lot differently. But it was tough for everybody. It's tough for the players. I didn't recruit the players. It was tough for me. It's tough for my family. I was still living away from my wife and kids. I was living on a mattress on the floor in a Section 8 apartment with my 2 GAs that are now Division One assistant coaches. you know,
That's wild.
um, and we had an assistant. It wasn't fair to him either. He's a basketball missionary now down in the Dominican Republic. Brett Miller, great man. His dad was a great coach, longtime assistant coach with Bobby Washington at Bryan Station, then longtime assistant girls coach at EKU. But Brett was our assistant. It wasn't fair to him because he'd been there 5 years and he got, I get the job. I was there 3 months. It was tough. It was just really tough. So, that season ends, and then what do? So I had some Division One options. We have a lot of people don't realize this, but at Georgetown College, man, we birthed a lot of great. When I say we, Coach Osborne and our winning program, but we birthed a lot of coaching careers. Richie Riley, head coach South Alabama, started out as a volunteer assistant with us. Michael Fly, associate head coach at Florida State right now, who was the head coach of Florida Gulf Coast. Started out as a volunteer with us. Doug Carlson was the head coach at Central Missouri, one of the best 20,000 students on campus, to one of the best Division twos in the country, and was a Division One assistant most recently at Abilene Christian. Is now the head coach at University of Texas at Tyler. Started as a volunteer for us. I mean, the list goes on about guys who are making way more money than I am that started, sleeping in a locker room doing film exchange for us. So I reached out and had some opportunities there, but here I was. I'd already spent 3 years away from my wife and kids. Do I want to go to Mobile, Alabama and be 14 hours away? Do I want to go to Fort Myers, Florida and be 16 hours away? So I became a high school coach, got the job at Ashland, and caught lightning in a bottle there. We were 14-14 going into the district tournament, I think. My first year, not very good. Kicked the guy off the team. I think a lot of parents and players respected what we had to do, and won the regional tournament. Beat Boyd County by 16 in the regional championship game after they beat us on a 1-possession game in the district championship the week before. And then, so we go into Rupp 16 and we go into Rupp 17 and I think 18 and 16 or something like that. Like, wasn't sexy. And we're playing an Owensboro team that's like 26-5 or something, and we beat them and make it to the Elite Eight with probably the worst team that had ever played in the Elite Eight. But we maxed out, and then that next year we go undefeated with 33-0. We get Colin Porter. And those guys, all those kids that first year were freshmen, in addition to Devontae Robinson, who ended up playing at Campbellsville, and Alice Lloyd. And then we go to the Final Four that third year, and then Yeah, the third year, and then the last year we get upset by Covcath in the first round because we probably the two best teams that end up playing each other in the first round. And I coached a terrible game, that game, and I get fired. Jacob, the kid is at Youngstown State. Jacob's a great
Burlock.
player. Yeah, his dad called about his son transferring when he was an eighth grader. Trapped me, recorded the phone conversation, and
Really?
oh yeah, I lost my job over it. Won 99 games in 4 years and lost my job over, KHSA bylaw violation, which I never denied. Now I didn't promise anything illicit or anything, but we all know that it goes on, but we were dominating that region. Like we didn't lose a regional game. Think about that. You know, three
Coach, that's
years we
crazy.
yeah,
I
three
know you were if you were doing something that maybe you wasn't supposed to, but somebody recorded a call because you were recruiting their son, right?
No, I wouldn't say that. They recorded a call they about their son wanting to transfer to our school and trap me because it was a bylaw violation. So I got my hand caught in a cookie jar, if you will. I mean, listen to the call. There's been almost like 1.5 million people listen to it. I don't know where you'd find it anymore, but we're talking about Jesus and talking about faith and leadership development. I mean, I was selling the program. I was selling the hell out of it for 52 minutes, Um, but here's a cool story. June 27th, it breaks on like KSR, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting roasted, and other outlets. That was it. I had to listen to that in the waiting room at the oncology office the day my wife's 42nd birthday that she found out she had breast cancer.
Oh
That
no.
was one of the worst days of my life. And we had 3 death threats. It got stupid, stupid. So the recording was in April. I was in Myrtle Beach at spring break watching my son play baseball when he called, and I lose my job November 15th. A week before
Why
our
such a
season
gap?
starts. Great question.
Well, that's what's that? 6 months?
Yeah, it's just there was, it was meant to be. All right, I'm not jaded anymore. I think people that are miserable in life that don't achieve their full potential, they one of the reasons why is because they can't forgive. And if I'm not on the phone, none of this happens. So first person to blame is me. Um, and then the KHSA just wanted to make an example out of me. And then my superintendent wanted to make more of an example. So I took a year off. I didn't lose my teaching job. And so I went all over the country, went to practices, everything from middle school girls to NBA practices. Buzz Williams at Texas A&M, Richie McKay at Liberty. You know what? The best practice I saw that year, I saw a lot of practices at all levels. The best practice I saw that year was Mike Zabo at Trinity. Best basketball
Really?
practice I saw that year. Yep. And I was seeing 3 or 4 different practices every year or every week. Okay. And so what a great coach he was. Now, so then I take the job at Montgomery County in 23, and we weren't very good, but we had great kids who bought into everything we were telling them to do, and we were 11-18, and get beat first round of the district by GRC at GRC. And then we had this little squirrel named Caden Reed in the off season, and we ended up winning the district the next year, winning the region next year, going to the Final Four the next year, and flipping a record to 24-11 from 11-18. So 6 years as a high school coach, 5 of them were in the state tournament, and 2 Final Fours because a lot of great assistant coaches that are now either college assistants or head high school coaches. You just had one on recently, Brent Perry at Belford.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and, but more importantly, we had great players that were great people that came from great families. So, we've always had strong cultures. And I got tripped up again. I think some people didn't like us winning. after losing to GRC 20 since November of 2016. I think we'd lost 24 consecutive times to them, and then we beat them in the district, and then beat them in the region. And somebody finds a text message stream where I was trying to help a mom get some housing that I wasn't paying for that she qualified for. Single mom working two jobs. Her son was unenrolled, was looking to transfer to Montgomery County. And yeah, I was just trying to, what I thought was doing the right thing. But again, it's a bylaw violation. And of all people, due to the publicity of the first violation at Ashland, I couldn't afford to do that. And, you know, I wasn't, I guess, I didn't have healthy enough fear that people would do that. I would never do that. I hope you would never do that. I would see you as, okay, we're competitors, but like you're just trying to help a family, you know? Um, but no, some people, think differently, and rightfully so. So, to each their own. And I was just tired of it. Maybe I'm just not cut out for high school basketball. So I resigned in
I remember when
December.
that happened.
Yeah. Um, Full support of my wife and kids. My family was tired of it too, because they knew how hard we worked, and they knew. I mean, God, we ran high school basketball programs like a small college program, and that's why I have a podcast now called Win! Exclamation point, the Coach May Show, because it was getting to the point where I was having to apologize for doing winning things, winning games, winning championships with winning players, winning in fundraising. Had to apologize for raising $100,000 for a booster club. Had to apologize for that. You know, and I was just tired. I was tired of it. Mentally, I think I was growing weak, which was causing me to question whether I could sustain the effort that I had been putting in. I just felt God tugging at my heart to do something that I've been wanting to do for a long time. And so December of 25, I started Cognitecture. Cognitecture is a merging of two words, cognitive, which, our ability to think, and architecture. So Cognitecture is a mental performance company, mental architecture for how we think. We're rooted in faith, built by discipline, and designed for peak performance. And I speak anywhere I can to teams, coaches, life insurance sales guys, car sales guys, anybody in high performance industries. And then I coach individual clients, I coach teams, I coach coaching staffs. If you had to sum up what I do in 3 segments, it would be mindset conditioning for athletes. The second segment would be teaching coaches that are under a lot of pressure to win how to manage that pressure with discipline, efficiency, and yet becoming a stronger version of themselves. And then the third segment would be non-sports, people that are out there, facing pressure to sell medical devices or pharmaceuticals or cars or financial services products, real estate, that just need a sharper edge, that need to be held accountable for their daily mental toughness. And so we developed a framework called the Discipline Day. It's something that I believe in because for 11 years I had a mental performance coach. All those years when I was coaching, and even when I was out of coaching, I had 3 coaches. The first one was Jason Selk, Dr. Jason Selk. I'd encourage everybody to look these up on Google. Sports psychologist. He's worked with the St. Louis Cardinals. Just phenomenally intelligent, tough man. Then I worked with Dr. Kevin Elko. Unbelievable human being, sports psychologist. He worked with my team at Ashland as well. And then I worked with a guy, he's probably my mentor in this space, Ben Newman. Ben Newman is one of the top 20 motivational speakers in the world right now. He was the mindset conditioning coach for Nick Saban in Alabama football for 5 years. He's currently with Kansas State football. He's got several NFL players. He works with the Indiana Fever and Caitlin Clark as their mental performance coach. So that's the space I'm in, man. And I'm juiced. Every day I get up, and I don't get up as early as my wife. She's 5:07. I'm 5:50. Um, but every day I get up and I'm fired up. Fired up to grow this business, speak in front of as many people as I can. And really, what we're articulating is mentally, we're advocating mental toughness and winning, and we're not apologizing for that. I
Yeah,
think
those
our
are
society,
two
I think
great
our,
things, man.
I think our society's gotten soft on both those issues.
I don't think you can win if you're not mentally tough. Not in
Well,
today's world, right?
so, but it's not the I'm gonna stick my foot up your butt kind of, cattle prod Bobby Knight, and I love Coach Knight, don't get me wrong, but it's not that. It's there's processes, there's systems that you and I can adopt in our lives that help us develop daily, consistent habits that make us sharper, that make us stronger, that make us do a couple of things. They give us the ability to reframe adversity, because
Oh,
it's not when it's going to happen. It's not if it's going to happen. It's going to be when it happens. So how quickly can you reframe adversity to the next best opportunity? You're not going to like that next best opportunity as you did the original opportunity, but that's where the toughness comes in. You still got to take it and run with it. Okay. And how quick can an athlete with two straight turnovers reframe that and play the next play successfully? How quick can a coach get over being pissed off at a player and not carry that for the next six possessions? I struggle with that at times. Okay. How systematic can a um, pharmaceutical rep be in his sales activity every day, driving more and more opportunities in his sales pipeline because of the daily discipline that he has? Here's a great one. What about coaches? How successful can coaches be as husbands and fathers when they spend a lot of time away from their children and their wives? Okay. Or, female coach. I have a female coaching client, so her husband, um, balancing the pressure of winning and being the leader that your players need you to be, and being the husband, the spouse, the wife, the son, the father, the mother that your family needs you to be. And then assistant coaches. Guys, you don't think those guys aren't under a lot of heat?
oh,
Come
yes,
on
sir.
now. Come on now. You've been interviewing a bunch of them. It don't matter what level. You don't win, you out. Okay. And so how do they maintain the atmosphere of that pressure and those 18-hour work days? First of all, how can we make those more efficient? What systems can we put in place where they don't get burned out, where they still have um, marriages and relationships with the family members outside of their team that are getting stronger, not weaker? Okay. And then how can we also put in perspective that they got to be present where their feet are with their current team and current program, yet also aspire to run their own program and get that next higher level job, higher paying job, yet not giving up the presence and mindfulness of being present where you are at your current job. It's hard. And so those are all just different examples of where I work. And then, speaking, man, I love being able to advocate, and advocacy is us speaking. You're advocating for young basketball coaches, young basketball players, the game of basketball. You're advocating for it with what you're doing. And so what you're doing is you're speaking up for something that can't necessarily speak for itself. So your platform gives it a voice. Those coaches, you're giving them an extra voice. Those players, you're helping them obtain a voice that without you they wouldn't have the
Hmm.
outreach to how many million views did you have? 800,000 or something like that. So you're advocating. That's what you're doing. You're an advocate for basketball. And so I'm advocating every day for winning in life with discipline and mental toughness. That's what I'm doing. And I don't know one person that doesn't want that message in their organization. I don't want to know one person. If they don't, I don't want to be involved with the organization. You know,
Absolutely. I mean, not every day is a great day for me. Like, I mean, let's be honest, we're all human beings. We all have bad days. Like, I've got terrible news yesterday. Like, but guess what? I didn't lay in the bed and just shut down. I got up and got this thing going, man. Like, I'm the type of person, like, if I don't stay busy, like, it goes in wrong places and it doesn't end up well for me. So I like staying busy and I like staying on the grind.
movement of your body, expression of your passions creates movement and clear expression of your mind. So
Okay.
I would encourage you to find time to exercise. I've lost 60 pounds in the last 6 months. Um, I would encourage you to when have a protectionism. So when that trigger of idleness sets in and that dark shadow in our brain starts clouding our thinking, what's your go-to? If it's some form of exercise, um, you'll get out of it. That shadow will dissolve. Okay.
Coach, I was up to 530 pounds in 2020, 2021. I
That's a
dropped
big
two
man.
I dropped 210 pounds in 16 months by nutrition and exercise.
Yeah.
I cut out carbs, cut out sugar, drunk a ton of water every day, about 2.5 gallons of water, and exercised. And yeah, man, I don't know. I was always big my whole life, and yeah, man, COVID got me down. Like COVID scared me, set me in the house. I drank soda and ate, and got up to 5:30, and I'm like, man, this ain't no way to live. I'm not gonna live very long. I keep doing this, and
Yeah.
man, one day I said I've had enough of it. I started counting my macros. I said no more carbs, no more sugar. Let's go to the gym. I don't care if I put in 10 minutes the first day. Just keep going up, up, and up. And then man, it just started to just come off, dude. Like, and man, I feel so much better now, like mentally, physically. Yeah,
Yeah.
man. Like I don't know.
So, it's people need to rise early. There's power in getting up early. It's hard, but there's power in it. There's power of a morning process. So, I would encourage you to develop. And after this, I can even help you if you want me to, but I would encourage you to develop a morning routine. For me as a man of faith, I believe in Jesus Christ. That's just me personally. So I start my day in my Bible. Okay, that gives me wisdom that comes from something other than this world. It helps me. It grounds me. It humbles me to start my day to realize that there's something bigger than me, and it's always going to be something bigger than me to live for. And then I journal on what I learn. Okay, sometimes I do a Substack article about connecting something I learned in the Bible to mental toughness. Okay. And then I write my I am statements, my I will statements, and my feel statements. So,
So
you
your
know,
affirmations.
yeah, I don't care to share them. Again, I'm an advocate. So, I am a child of God empowered by the Holy Spirit to achieve greatness. I am the faithful and loving husband to Lori Beth. I am the present and loving father to Jason Reagan. I am a saver. I've not always made great financial decisions, and I'm still on that pathway to become more financially viable. So I'm telling myself that I like nice things, and so I'm changing who I am at age 50 to become more responsible financially, especially as an entrepreneur now. I'm preparing my family for the next 40 years, creating generational wealth and togetherness. I am making an impact on those I coach and speak to. The more impact I am making, the wealthier I am becoming. And I am creating an uncommon legacy. That legacy is going to be uncommon greatness. And then I have business goals, my I will statements, action verbs, and I'm not going to share those. But and then my feel statement is, if you don't have something to connect to every day, multiple times a day, you become a field. You go la la land, and you're not productive. Okay, there's a lot of people that have ADHD. If not ADHD, ADD. Yeah, there's a lot. And some of the most right now, I am partnering with a guy who's one of the most successful entrepreneurs I've ever met in my life. Okay, I don't know a whole lot of people whose companies have made $1 billion in 5 years. This guy's one. All right, and spent a lot of time with him. I'm learning from him. I really like him. He's a great person. Dude, he can't focus for 10 seconds on something. And so, I'm learning how to communicate in short snippets with him and communicate via email and text message with him in a way that he's going to pick up really quick. And, but golly, how successful is he? I mean,
Yeah,
it
man. I got
doesn't
7
mean you're not going to be,
projects going on at once all the time. Like,
yeah.
seriously.
I mean, and so what happens is you have to have a process. So I'm looking at my phone here. I'm going to show you something. So, I don't know if you can see this. These are all alarms on my iPhone. Okay.
Mhm.
So at 8 o'clock, no, it's at 6:30, LB Future. My wife is Lori Beth. This reminds me that my fuel statement is to provide the retirement lifestyle that she deserves. Because I've hopped around from job to job and done this and that and started businesses, this and that. She's been an educator for 24 years. She's been super solid,
Mhm.
and she deserves a good retirement. Um, so that's my fuel statement. So at 6:30, boom, that alarm's going off, reminding me of my why. 8 o'clock, she wants to live in the South. Okay. That's again connected me to providing the retirement lifestyle for her because she wants to live in the South. All right, I got to get to work. I got to make some sales calls. I got to call some athletes. I got to call some coaches. I got to post on social media. I got to do some recordings. Okay. If she wants to live in South Alabama, by golly, I got to get to work. 10:30, she
Mhm.
may want to teach at a university. I got to get to work. 12:45, she want to fly to see grandkids. I got to get to work. Those are $600 tickets. 3:15, travel to see Jason Reagan uh, play. So there's all these little sub reasons that I connect to my fuel. What fuels me? I connect to that 4 times at least, 5 times a day, whether I'm having a good day or a bad day. And um, that just it helps your focus, and anybody can do that. And so starting your day this way is part of living a disciplined day. And the other thing that I'm really on right now is we get seduced by success. So let me warn you. You're kicking ass and taking names right now. It's finally starting to click for you. You're probably getting
Mhm.
some income from your subscriptions, and you're probably starting to see some light at the end of the tunnel. The second you get seduced by that success, it's over. It's over. So what you have to do is when you've hit this mark of like, man, I never thought I'd get here. Wow, let me enjoy this for a minute. You plateau. Now, what the healthy way of doing this, but it's the hard way. It's the uncommon way. But this is what winners do. Is the second you make it, all right, you've got to start the whole process over again like you did when you were broke with an idea. That's got to be your PhD. You got to be poor, hungry, and driven, and you've just got to grind harder after success. That's what Kobe Bryant did to make him great.
Coach,
Okay,
I'm gonna
that
tell you. I'll tell you something, man. I could have $100 million right now. I could have be worth $10 billion. You're not gonna see me laying around watching TV. You're not gonna see me like I can't relax. I have to be driven to do something. Like I'm that type of person to where I don't care. I mean, yeah, I might enjoy it for a day, but like I've got something I want to do, and I'm going to do it. I don't care.
uh,
Like monetary wise, like yeah, man, it's cool to have money and I mean, be honest, like I don't have any, but if I did, I'd be doing the same thing as I'd be doing right now. Try to do 3 podcasts a day, connect people. Like, man, like I get what you're saying though. A lot of people get to success and they're like, oh man, I've made it. Like I'm here, I can
mhm.
chill for a while, and then what happens?
Yeah. You can't, there's no seduction to success. If you get seduced by success, your success will stop. It will cease to exist. And you'll backslide. And it's just like working out. If like one of the things I worry about with people on GLP-1 is what happens when they get off of it. You're going to gain that weight back twice as quick as you lost it.
They
So
gain no good habits.
what are you gaining, right? What are you doing right now to prepare yourself to get off of it, to regulate your hunger? You better have some
Your blood
disciplined
sugar.
habits. Yeah.
Yeah, you're not
So
creating any habits. So as soon as you get off of it, those bad habits are going to make you go right back where you're at.
yeah, that's why, I mean, there's a few things. One, you can't be a victim in life. Okay.
Hmm.
Um, I've had some hits. I've had some arrows in my back, that I could have easily got on Facebook and said, I'm a victim. You guys know everybody does this. This is wrong. This is, cowardly. And you know what? That would have been me running from my responsibility. That would have been avoiding accountability. And that would have been taking the easy way out. But you never saw me do that. I canceled my social media for 6 months. I never responded. I never argued. I never defended. I knew who I had to talk to regarding these issues, and that's who I talked to. And then finally, you got to the point where, my model for coaching high school basketball and trying to win games is not something that's just sustainable, you know, um, whether from the KHSA's viewpoint or your local district opponent's viewpoint, and that's okay, to each their own. And again, I don't have any grudges. There's a lot of people that there's nothing to forgive because maybe really they didn't do anything wrong. Okay. But like, if it's not forgiveness, then it's forgetfulness. I forget about it. Um, because I think having that freedom to sleep at night without negative emotions and grudges and hatred and envy and greed and jealousy, man, they just eat away at your heart. You know, winners winners have competitive spirits. Like MJ, obviously, arguably the greatest winner of all time. One of them, him and Michael Phelps, Bill Russell. Okay, um, but MJ was different. Like he wanted to kill you. You know, he wanted he was better with chips on his shoulder. Michael Phelps just wanted to be the best version of himself. Bill Russell just wanted to do his best job because to honor his team and his coach. We all come at it differently, but winners, Jordan, he didn't have time to be a victim. He didn't have time to argue and wrestle with pigs. He didn't have time to defend an action that he thought was controversial. You didn't see Jordan getting political. You still don't see Jordan getting political. Why? He didn't have time for it. He's trying to win 6 championships.
Hmm.
You know,
That's how
uh,
focused he like that. Just imagine what kind of focus that takes, though.
yeah. I
As many
mean,
haters as Michael Jordan had, still does to this day. Like the mental toughness and the focus that he has, and still has to this day. Like, hats off to that guy. Like I know he's, I think he's the
did you
best
ever see
basketball
Kobe
player.
getting political? Did you ever see Kobe
Nope,
getting political? Nope. Kobe would advocate for things. Kobe advocated late in his career more than anything, women's sports. And I
really.
get it. I'm a girl dad. My daughter's a sophomore at Montgomery County. She's a basketball player. Dude, I'm the same way. I've coached girls AAU. You know, he would advocate for things. Because when you have a platform, advocacy is needed at some level. You have a voice where you can help others that without you they couldn't help themselves. Um, but like he didn't get political. I mean, so I always like George W. Bush. And I'm not. I ran for state office in 2008 when I was out of coaching. Huge mistake, because I used to listen to all that stuff. I used to listen to Rush Limbaugh and all these conservative talk show, and I was a Republican. I'm a radical moderate. You know what that means? Uh,
Um,
I think Jesus was a radical moderate. You got to love everybody. And if you get too hateful towards one side of the spectrum, you end up not loving them. And, and so, but politics is divisive. But you know what else is divisive? Winning is divisive. Winning will divide people. This is interesting. I didn't
Hmm.
really realize this, but when you win, people will not like you. They will want to see you fail. Your balloon takes off higher than theirs, faster than theirs. They're going to shoot the air out of your balloon to deflate you.
Amen. Yes,
Okay.
sir.
How you handle that tells a lot about you. It's happened to me several times. Two times that people in the state are familiar with, um, and I'm proud of how I've responded to those moments. I haven't been a victim. I haven't cried bloody murder. Matter of fact, I think I've done a pretty good job of taking my medicine, and moving on and finding else. Okay, how else can I advocate for winning and leadership and living this mentally tough life that I'm so excited about. If there's a gospel that I'm spreading, that's the gospel right now. So, I appreciate your platform, but like so many young people, they get coached by high school coaches that if they themselves don't know how to live a disciplined day, then they don't know how to teach others to live a disciplined day. One of the best investments I ever made as a high school coach was in mental performance coaching. It wasn't for me. It was I brought in Kevin Elko and Jason Selk and Ben Newman, and we did book studies and we did live Zooms with people that were in this space, and we learned from them and we heard their theories on meditation, visualization. Oh, visualization! We could do a whole episode on visualization techniques, you know. And I can't tell you how many times the players come up to me in a game and say, "Coach, I saw that play before I saw it." And what that
Really?
means is he had visualized that play mentally prior to that game happening, and then that actual play happened. Like the brain, guys, people don't understand how much power you have to design your thinking. I am amazed more and more every day of how underdeveloped my own brain is, because more and more every day I'm learning how much more potential it has. And man, you can be the mental architect of your life. You can control your thinking, how you think, how you respond to grief, how you respond to depression, how you respond to losing a job, losing a loved one, having a disability, how you respond to adversity, how you respond to winning, how you respond to success, how you respond to somebody saying yes, how you respond to someone saying no. um, those are all opportunities for growth, and you either pass the test or fail the test. There's no gray area. And we all have several of those tests going on every day. And the more we pass, the stronger we become.
So is mental
Um,
toughness about eliminating like fear and nervousness, or
no,
learning how
no,
to perform with those emotions are still present though?
great question. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage does not equate to fearlessness. Okay. Courage is, there's 6 C's of leadership. All right. One of them is courage. Okay. And courage is being able to do what you know is right, regardless of how scared you are to do it.
Okay.
You know, and you think people wanted me to resign in Montgomery County? No, it took courage to resign, but it was what was best for those players, because everybody behind that had a keyboard and a blog would have tore my players and our program apart for 10 days as I was sitting under a suspension. I wasn't going to do that to them. So, um, courage is hard, but like that's sort of the secret sauce. There's something that's easy or something hard. Do the thing that's hard. It's going to be better for you.
What about what usually breaks first under pressure? You're like your confidence, your focus, your discipline, or the decision making.
Well, first of all, if you're not a confident person going into an environment, then you're not going to be ready to handle pressure. There are ways to develop that confidence. So first of all, um, is repetition is the key to mastery. So
Mm-hmm.
in basketball, our players over the years have all heard me say that. What's the key to mastery? It's repetition, which is why most of our practices defensively to get out of a drill, you had to get 3 stops in a row. That's hard.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Um, but it gave them a lot of extra reps, which is why we always have one of the best man-to-man defensive teams in high school basketball. So, because we became masters of how we wanted to guard people, well, that gave us confidence. So if you can rep something um, thousands of times, that's why getting up every day and repping, telling yourself who you are and who you are becoming, what you're going to achieve, and what your purpose is, and you do that every day, those are reps that leads to confidence in that, by golly, that's who I'm going to be. That's who I am. Okay. It's
So it's
all
kind of
part
like
of the
the law.
process.
What's that book? The Law of Attraction, kind of.
Yeah, I do believe in that. I'm reading a book right now called Laws of Success. It's a 1,000-page book by Napoleon Hill. I liken it to this. Your brain, think back in the cowboy days when they had wagons with the wagon wheels, right? And the dirt roads would all have what in them? Ruts,
Mm-hmm.
where the wagon wheels. And if you got out of that rut, you lost your balance of your wagon. Sometimes it would snap the wheel because the
Mm-hmm.
ruts would be so deep. Okay. And so we all have these ruts in our neural pathways in our brain. Not to get all physiological on you, and most of these ruts are not good things, but that's their patterns, their habits of how we think and why we think. And so we have to create new, healthier ruts. And here's the way your brain works. When you're creating new neural pathways, new habits, new ways
Mm-hmm.
of thinking, for every inch that you gain in that new way of thinking, an inch of the old way disappears. It's a 1-to-1 ratio. So it's not like if I develop this new way of thinking, I still got to fight this old way of thinking. No, the stronger this new way gets, the more this disappears. Okay. And I think we were sort of created with that in mind because how fair is that? Okay. So for you or me to live our life stuck in a rut with our thinking because we don't know how or have the discipline to create new ways of thinking, man, what are we missing out on? What income are we missing out on? What contentment and happiness are we missing out on? What kind of blessings are we missing out on? What kind of relationships are we missing out on? Because we won't change how we think. Okay. But in a pressure situation, to answer your question, it begins with confidence. Now, the more you think about that situation, the less likely you are to perform well in it. So simple is best, and so routine is what helps you look like a world beater. Caden Reed, we hit the last second shot to beat GRC 2 years ago in the regional championship game, right? You think he was actually walking out of our last timeout huddle knowing he was going to pass it to Luke, who passed it to Andrew, and Andrew was going to pass to Caden, and he was going to bank one off from 27 feet? No. He was just playing on instinct. All right.
You see so
The,
many guys that are overthinking on the court, and they it kills their play. Like
mhm.
and just like, man, just go play. Like I'm sure as a coach, you're like, man, just go play.
So how can you do that? So like when you come out of a timeout with a short clock, 9 seconds to go, we got to execute or we're going to lose the game, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody comes out of that timeout with a role if the coach did their job, okay? Um, and don't focus on the outcome of your role. So if my role is to shoot the shot to win a game, I better have a good timing on when I start my cut, making sure that I'm really good off the screen if there's a screen for me, making sure that my spacing starts out in a place where I can cut to get a ball in an area that I can score from versus too
Mm-hmm.
far away. It's the moments never happen for people because they don't do all the little things that lead to the moment. So if you're focused on waiting on the screen, being patient, having good cut speed, having good angles and spacing, when you actually get that pass at the buzzer, you don't have time to think about it because you were
Mm.
thinking about everything that led to led to the catch. And so when you catch it, it's just something that you've done thousands of times before. And so if we can break the macro down into micro, that helps us. My son's a baseball player. I love baseball when it comes to this kind of stuff because baseball is so routine oriented. So if you're a baseball player and you walk out of the dugout to go to the on deck circle, there's somebody at bat and you're on deck, you should always walk out with the same foot. All right. You should know how many paces to the on deck circle. So when you go to the visitors field, you should spend a few minutes saying, okay, when I go to the on deck circle, I'm gonna go left foot, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, boom, I'm in there. Because you just won. So when you go to the on deck circle, you just did something successfully that you've practiced. Mentally, that's a win. Then should have the same routine, the same self-talk, the same visualization, the same breathing technique in that on-deck circle. Then you should know how many steps it takes from the on-deck circle to the outside of the, okay? So when you take those 9 steps that you rehearsed pregame, you just got another win. Okay?
What
And
about something like negative self talk, man? I've had issues with that. How dangerous is that during competition?
well, I would like to know why they're saying what they're saying. Okay? Um, it would probably start with outcome based thinking. Okay. So or perfectionism, this is probably what it is. So it's progress
Hmm.
over perfection. All right. So if you and I base our performance on outcome, then any time that we don't have a perfect outcome, we're going to be frustrated and disappointed. So guess what? We're pretty much going to have 100% failure rate, which is another reason I love the sport of baseball. Because if you bat 300, you're an all star. All right.
Hmm.
Well, that means 70% of the time you didn't get on base. All right. So um, you've got to move from a perfectionism mindset to a process based mindset that focuses on the progress that you're making, which is why my example for baseball, have a win going to the batter's box, having a win going to the on deck circle, having a win in a focus point before the first pitch comes. Okay. Having that routine gives you small wins. WINS. All right. And so you're not giving yourself time to think about big moments and to have questionable self talk, dubious or doubtful self talk, which will lead, if you fail, to negative self talk. Now, because you've told yourself something negative, you're going to struggle to go on to the next play. So a play that just happened is affecting the next play and the play after that. Next thing you know, you're benched. Okay. And then when you go to the bench, you're cussing at yourself, you're cussing at the coach, and now you're an energy zapper. Okay. Oh, it cascades like that. So we have to go back to how can I stack small wins in this process of being a good basketball player, being a good podcast host, okay, being a good mental performance, being a good husband. How can I stack small wins? Because it's making me more confident because my brain's seeing victory after victory after victory. Even though the world views them as small, our brain views them as wins. Okay. Here's the other thing. When you visualize you achieving success, your brain doesn't know the difference between real life and that visualization. Fact. So let's say you believe what I just told you, which you should. Why would we not be visualizing success every day? Okay. You should actually spend a cognitive moment before you before you send the invite out on Substack to visualize how your podcast is going to go, how it's going to start, the questions you're going to ask. You should have your eyes closed. You should have 7-second inhale, 3-second hold, 6-second exhale, 3 or 4 times. All right. And have those centering breaths. And then you should close your eyes. Both feet should be on the ground. And you should be able to visualize the opening statement, your first 3 questions. So when you actually see yourself asking your guests those questions, You actually have already seen it. So
Hmm.
not only are you executing better, but you're just sharper. So your podcast is going to be more successful. When I was a financial advisor, I would sit in the car in the parking lot before I would go into the restaurant or the Starbucks or the coffee shop or the office building, and I would close my eyes and I would visualize the meeting I was getting ready to have. I would visualize the rejection statements that they were getting ready to probably give me. If I'm going to ask to get the 401k for $500,000 rolling over to an IRA, and they got a cousin who does the same thing I do, they're probably going to use that as a rejection. How am I going to respond to that? So when they actually said that, well, I really like your company, but I got a cousin that does this. Boom, I'm on it. I've already seen that in my own mind. You know, and so the brain doesn't know the difference between what's in real time and what we actually visualize. It sees it the same way. And so visualization and all these mental reps, if you will, downhill skier. You ever watch the Olympics? Downhill
Hmm.
skiers, all right?
Yeah.
When they're about three deep, they start to before they, the first guy, the first person's up there, and they go through the rail and they do the thing. Well, about three back, they're already doing their mental reps. Okay. And they know where every flag, they know how many seconds it is. I'm closing my eyes. They know how many seconds it is to the first flag. They know that they're going left, then right, and they know where the hills are, where they got to lean more weight on the left leg, more weight on the right leg. They have it memorized. Figure skaters know their routine like that. F1, Formula One drivers know the course, forwards, backwards, know their braking angles, know their braking timing, know when their shift patterns are, know their marks, all with their eyes closed, all with the simulator as well. So they got two forms of visualization. The race car simulation and then the mental visualization. And when they get in the car for the actual race, they've already seen this twice. That's how prepared they are. Okay? You're not going to hear them talk, have self-talk unless somebody else hits them and derails the execution that they were doing. How do we respond to that? It's something we can't control, right? You
Yeah.
have to reframe it. It's adversity. You have to reframe it into the next best opportunity, which sucks. Okay? But you know what mentally tough people like? They like things that are hard and they like things that are sucky. They like things that this makes I'm pissed off. They like those things. Okay?
Yes, sir.
They like those things. Why are the Navy SEALs so superior mentally to most human beings? Because they love doing hard things. You know? So when you got to reframe something because of a consequence that you're having to deal with that wasn't your fault, takes mental toughness, takes discipline, and you got to reframe it to the next best opportunity. And now you got to move forward to that next best opportunity. And let me tell you what's going to happen. A lot of times when we are attacking those next opportunities, something opens up for us that was way better and bigger than the first thing that was ever going to give us. But if we hadn't had the ability to reframe the adversity, we'd have never known that.
So reframing, um, adversity, man. I seem like when my back's against the wall, I seem like I perform better. But if like there's not a lot on the line, it seems like I don't perform as well. But does that make any sense to you? Mentally, like
Okay, because you just differentiated between the same thing. You created two separate things that are actually the same thing. Let me give you an example. I was more nervous for practices than I ever was a game. I was not nervous at all in any state tournament game I ever coached. Not at all. I when I was a young coach as an assistant at Georgetown, I was nervous for games, but I can't tell you the last time I was nervous for a game. But the 2 hours that I'm putting in preparing the practice script for today, I got butterflies all day long. Why? Because that is how we're going to win the game by
hmm
being efficient in practice. Okay. And so to me, practice and game, it's the same thing. It's execution. All right. It's discipline, it's organization, it's communications, connection. All those things go into that. And so if I can come out of a practice knowing we checked a lot of boxes there, we executed, we did good, we were on point, we're ready, I go into that game
confident.
easy. And Players should be the same way. If players would put way more, I don't want to say pressure, way more importance on their practice performance, they would be a much mentally stronger version of themselves in games. Because when the game comes, they're starting to see, well, this is easy. Why is it easy? Because you made it hard on yourself every day in practice. So now it's game time. This guy doesn't know how to guard this play. Whereas every day in practice, the guy, he knows exactly where I'm going. All right. And I still got to execute. Every day in practice, I got to coach. In a game, I can't, my coach is all the way to that end of the floor. I'm not hearing that voice right now. I mean, so you just differentiated a minute ago between two separate things. All right. And my example is coaching a basketball game or playing a basketball game. No, practice and game is the same. It's the same mindset. It's the same thing. Put more pressure on the practice and your performance in the practice. And if you do that, games are going to be jelly.
Yeah, just simply because you're going to be more confident in what you're doing, right?
Yeah. Because you showed up in a high pressure environment every day, Monday through Thursday, and Friday night. Shoot, that the sandwich is already made. All you got to do is just cut it. So I think a lot of that's complicating the simple, is when you try to say, okay, now this is a game. Well, it was a game yesterday in practice too, was it not?
What about the crowd, though?
An interesting point on that. In games, my wife always sat behind us for the most part. All right, like within the first 5 rows behind her bench. That's why she hated the state tournament so much, because she couldn't be right behind us. And she's like, "Didn't you not hear so and so yelling this or so and so?" I'm like, 100% of the time she asked me with those things, I had never did hear them. Couldn't hear them. Now, why do you think I couldn't hear them?
Focused.
Just locked in on what I've been building every day in practice. The only thing that mattered to me was the execution of that, and making sure that all my energy was on making sure I was letting my players perform. I would spend more time stressing about staying out of their way as a coach versus overcoaching them. Like, that was a thing I was always worried about. I was like, man, I don't want to overcoach these kids. And sometimes I would feel myself overcoaching them, and they would start playing half stepping. They would start playing like in mud. And I'd have to say, okay, so one of the things I did, like when I was at Ashland, every once in a while, whenever I would sense that they weren't hearing me, not because of a lack of respect or I was overcoaching, I pulled the staff out. I would tell Colin Porter or Cole Villers. I did it in Montgomery County. I did it with, I think Tice Lick at the lead. Caden Reed did it a few times. And I would let the players handle the timeout. We would stay totally away from it. We couldn't hear what they were saying. My assistant coaches thought I was nuts. And we let them have that moment.
What's an example of overcoaching?
Trying to do, or in a timeout situation, trying to tell them too many things. You should tell them 2 things in a timeout, especially in high school. It's funny, in high school, coaches don't know what to do with these long media timeouts at the state tournament. Or in college, I was used to them. The biggest adjustment for me in high school was these short timeouts in the regular season. I mean, 60 seconds, 30 seconds. I'm like, golly, and so as a high school coach, because you don't have much time, you got to be 2 things, 1 or 2 things. All right. So you can overcoach in a timeout. And if you're giving them 3 or 4 things, or if you're talking to 4 different people, I'm spending 10 seconds talking to you, 10 seconds talking to you, 10 seconds talking to my assistant, 10 seconds talking to you. Guess what? Nobody hears anything.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You can overcoach in practice by not. A lot of young coaches, they want to have a, this is going to sound crazy, they want a pretty practice schedule. They want it, man, look at this practice schedule. Look how hard I worked at this. I was one of those guys. Okay. And we were organized and we were efficient. Our practice was scheduled down to the minute. Okay. Literally to the minute, to the second, actually 30 seconds. But what I got good at eventually as I got older was making sure I didn't overschedule in a practice to make sure I had adequate time to get this one skill done or this one press action done or this. Okay, we're going to put in this zone. It's going to take me 20 minutes to implement this part of the zone today. Coaches don't ever want to dedicate 20 minutes to anything in a practice, especially if you only get an hour and a half or 2 hours. Okay. Well, as I age, I was like, okay, we got to cut some things out because I need 20 minutes just for this zone, these zone slides that we got to teach. Okay. The other way they overcoach is they go straight to teaching the whole instead of teaching in the parts. So on the zone example, I've always been a man-to-man coach. And when I was fired, I spent some time with Merrimack, Joe Gallo, and Lou Gaetano. Lou's now an assistant coach at St. Louis, and they got this 2-3 zone that's revolutionary. I mean, it's the best thing since Jim Boeheim's 2-3 zone. Okay. And it's good because he's Merrimack. He's in the Northeastern Conference. Like, he's not going to have the best players hardly in any game he plays. So he's got to do something to offset the talent gap when especially his buy games where he's got to get these guarantee checks. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So he's come up with this zone. It's really good. And, so I got to watch him practice and how they're up in North Andover, Massachusetts, right on the New Hampshire state line. And they never hardly ever practice the zone as a whole. It's all breakdown drills. The front two guys, they call them the guards, their slides and their various rotations. The goalie's the middle guy. He's by himself at a basket with all the other guys that play the goalie or the center, and he's got his rotations. And then the two outside guys, the forwards, they're doing their breakdown drills. And then if there's players that play more than one position, they swap. Okay. And so, man, these guys are like robots in this zone because they've broken it down by position, by slide, by where the ball goes. All right. And I've seen a lot of high school coaches hey, we're going to put in our 2-3 zone today. What do? You put in 5 players on the floor. No, break it down into the small parts and then let the small parts come together, and it all will work better that way. It's more efficiently. So I think a lot of coaches teach the whole before they teach the macro before they teach the micro.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think coaches, and I was one of these too, they get way too complicated on scouting reports. So I have a theory on this. We could do a whole section on scouting. Like, I would love to do that. But again, they want a pretty scouting report. And so our scouting reports were on average about 17 pages. They were crazy. Nobody in the
Whoa.
state did no one in the state did scouting reports like we did. And but you know why we did them? So my coaches were prepared.
Mm-hmm.
Because I needed them to be prepared to give me a good recommendation when I wasn't thinking about that, or I was pissed off and not in my right mindset. And because they were prepared, because they knew what another team did 5 games ago coming out of halftime that they'd only seen one time on film, they reminded me to see where's the point. Hey, if they're instead of a 2-3, if they come out and this guy's here, get ready for this 1-3-1 trap first play in the second half.
Mm-hmm.
Probably won't happen. Probably a 10% chance is going to happen. But when they're inbound on the ball and I see that guy, whoa, 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 boom, and I'm yelling too, STP 2-1-2, boom, we counter it. We don't turn it over. We don't lose a possession. Why?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's a 17-page scouting report that the assistant coach internalized. When it comes to players, I want them to know 3 big things. That's it. And so we do a lot of film work with the player, did a lot of film work with the players, and then I want them to know 3 things. 3 things. Now, our scouting board and the whiteboard in the locker room was full. Personnel, this and that. We went over it in 2 different phases. But at the end of the day, I always ended with, here's the 3 things. If we do these 3 things, you're winning. Okay? And so I really simplified it to them because they're 14 to 18-year-old kids. I mean, they can't even remember where their keys are. All right? How are they going to remember the 9th point you made on a whiteboard about the 6th man off the bench? He likes to shoot threes from the left corner versus the right corner. They're just not going to retain that. But by golly, your assistant coach is better.
Mm-hmm.
So you overcoach in scouting as well.
What about motivation versus discipline, man? Like, Motivation always gets talked about constantly, but man, doesn't motivation come and go? What's more valuable, motivation or discipline?
Discipline.
Hmm.
Motivation's crap. You know why? So I have this thing called a readiness scale that I talk to athletes about. And readiness scale is scale 1 to 10. One is, man, you can't even fog a mirror, you're comatose, you might as well just buy a casket. All right. 10 is, I have had 4 Red Bulls, I am geeked out of my gourd, and I am getting ready to kill somebody. All right. Both those are bad. If you're a 10, start a game, you don't have any room to be logical, rational, to make adjustments. You pick up quick fouls, you get quick on referees. You want to be a 6.5, a 7 to start every game on the readiness scale. You should start a podcast at a 7 as the moderator. That way you have room to intensify if you have to, or but you're rational about how the interview's going. Okay.
Hmm.
As a coach, one of the reasons I didn't get all wigged out in games because I wanted to be a 5 or a 6, where when I had to get their attention and rein them in and get intense, I had room to get to that point. Okay. Whereas if I coach that way from the tip, by halftime, they're not even listening to me anymore because I'm just going crazy. Okay.
Hmm.
So the readiness scale is important to answer your question, because anybody can be motivated. Anybody can be motivated. Any single human being can find motivation. So if anybody can be motivated, what's it really worth?
Nothing.
But if but not everybody and not anybody is disciplined, because discipline takes consistent habits day after day. Here's my definition of discipline. Discipline is doing what you know you have to do when you know what you know you have to do when you have to do it, regardless of how you feel. So we have these things. I give this talk on building a culture of champions, and it starts with your beliefs, and it goes to your behaviors, and then it leads to your results. Well, what lies between your beliefs and your behaviors are your standards. So as a human being, what are your standards? Okay, and you're either living above the line or below the line on your standards. And so discipline is, you are living above the line. You're living to your standards, regardless of how you feel. Standards over sympathies, standards over sobs, standards over sentiments, standards over scores. Hey, we won. Good. You're just going to lose all your discipline. You're going to get seduced by success. Okay. We lost a score, a negative score. You still got a standard of behavior, standard of belief, standard of conduct, standard of confidence, composure, class. Okay. And so that's what's uncommon, is people, especially young athletes, living to a standard every single day. Anybody can be motivated, but not everybody holds themselves accountable to living to standards. That's
But
the
what does
difference.
discipline? What's discipline look like on the days when an athlete or even an adult doesn't feel like working, man?
So if discipline's doing what you know you need to do when you need to do it, regardless of how you feel, all right, then you need to acknowledge in your self-talk that you feel this weak moment where I don't want to do this. I know I should go to the gym, but I don't. Okay. I I had a moment the other day. I slept in till 7:30 one day this week. Okay. And I hit snooze 3 times. My wife was already up reading her Bible, and I knew I was being a sluggard. Okay. But I felt I deserved it because I've been busting my butt the 2 previous days. Okay. You know what? I felt like crap the rest of the day.
All day.
Felt
Mm-hmm.
like crap
Because you didn't win
because
that morning.
exactly, my routine was off. Okay. And so what I would tell myself is, yeah, this is going to suck. But once I actually take the first step to doing it, I'll have my routine again. I'll be in the flow and I'll forget about it. But if I don't do this, I'm going to regret doing it. So what is worse, the pain of discipline or the pain of regret? The pain of regret, man.
Yes, sir.
So again, it goes back to, do hard things well. Do hard things well. Learn how to do hard things well. You know why Navy SEALs, when they get out of the military, they struggle mentally. Not all, but a lot. I mean, it's a thing, man. Like there's a lot of podcasts right now with Navy SEALs that mental health, man. And they just it's sort of like in the movie Talladega Nights.
Yeah.
I don't really know what to do with my hands right now. You know,
Yeah.
they don't know what to do with their life because every day was so intense. They had to have standards. They had to live to their standards every day, or somebody would get killed.
Yeah, they're in fight
Okay,
or flight 24/7.
or training for a fight. Okay, but and so now they don't have that pressure anymore, and they don't know how to adapt to
But
that.
but but don't you think where their brain was in fight or flight for so long, it's stuck in that mode?
It goes back to those ruts, man. Like, yeah, yeah, it's definitely stuck in it, which is why they have issues. Okay. That's why they have to get help. That's why they have to get coaching. That's why they have to get therapy. That's why they have to talk these things out to start creating those new pathways, those new ruts. All right. That new way of thinking, mental architecture. Okay. We built this building mentally. That career is over. I'm out of. I don't blow a whistle anymore. Hum my whistle up. All right. Now let's build this next mental building. Where can I throw my next energy and focus to? All right. Same thing. In the Navy SEAL example, when they retire, mental architecture. All right. What am I building now? So what are the habits and disciplines that I have to live in order to do that? Okay. So that's the thing about mental architecture is, your project right now may be one building that you're building mentally. Okay. You're building you're working on a project and it's taking all your focus and energy and toughness, resiliency. You're having to reframe some adversity because of deadlines and this and that. But once it's done, all right, guess what? Don't get seduced by success. Start building, start designing as a mental architect the next thing, the next phase. Throw yourself into that. Okay. But it's that, like you said earlier, when you get idle, bad things happen, you
Mm-hmm.
know? So it's a process that never ends. And that's the thing people need to realize is there's a process to mental toughness. And, you know, it's, so I got hang on one second. This is my new book. Okay.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up. The
Yeah,
mental
that's all
tough,
right.
the playbook.
Yeah.
Mentally tough, the playbook.
So there's this right here's sort of, standards over sentiment, standards over sympathies and all that stuff.
Sympathies.
Yeah. So anyways, there's this thing, and the process is you got to know your purpose, your fuel, okay? And you got to connect to that. And then what that does is that causes you to live to standards because you realize that I know why I'm living. I know why I'm pursuing this. I know why I got up early this morning. I know why I'm working out. Okay. And so there's a process. I go to the gym. I get up early. I do my morning journal. I do my affirmation statements. I'm learning. And then as you're doing that, adversity hits. Boom. Oh, yeah. I don't care that you got up at 5:10 this morning. I don't care that you did breathing techniques and visualization. I'm going to give you a flat tire and make you late to this interview.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
How you reframe that?
You got to reframe that. You have to. And so now I just got this great opportunity to show this person I'm interviewing with how dedicated I am and how I can fight through adversity. And I'm still going to find a way to make an impression. And I'm going to use this adversity to differentiate me from every other applicant. How am I doing that now? Figure it out. Okay. But that's part of your process, is because adversity is going to come. Okay. So that's the whole process of mental toughness is your purpose, your process, and being able to reframe adversity when it comes, because it's not if, it's when. Okay. Um,
Who did you
and
write the
that
book for?
it's a workbook. Okay. So it's meant to be used and written in. It's also, when you download it from my website, coachmays.com, you can download the first chapter for free and kick the tires, so to speak. And if you want to buy it, it's $39.99 because it's digital download and you get 100, access to it for the rest of your life. And then I mail you a copy of it. But it's meant to train you how to start your day and to live a disciplined day. And so, You know,
I
like,
need one of those for sure.
well,
For sure.
I'll send you one. But you know, MIVIS, mission, vision, and standards. You know, it shows you how to develop your own mission statement. So let me ask you a question. I want you to be vulnerable here. Do you have a mission and vision for your podcast?
Yes.
Okay, you should be able to recite it, and the person closest to you in life should be able to recite it. So all my players, all my two kids, my wife, they know what CCC means: confidence, composure, and class. We're going to have the confidence to obtain what we set out for in life. We're going to have composure, understand that when adversity hits, it doesn't derail our desire to succeed, but intensifies our desire to succeed. And class, no one's going to remember the thing that happened. They're always going to remember how you reacted to the thing that happened. Okay, that's my mission statement. All right, and so I built this business around that as well. And you know, my vision is more tangible. It's I'm going to be the number one mental performance coach in the state of Kentucky in the next 2 years. Then we're going to go out of our. Then I'm going to expand, but I'm focusing on Kentucky. Okay, and so it teaches you how to develop your own mission statement, your own vision statement, and set your own standards. Okay, players should have their own mission statement for practices, and they should have their own mission statement for games. My clients that I work with, we post them in their locker. They have a mission statement for practice and a mission statement for games. Because in practice, you have a training mindset. In games, you have a trusting mindset. Okay? Which is another reason you shouldn't have pressure on you in games because you're trusting all the training that you've already put in. So, I mean, it just goes through all this, everything that we've talked about tonight. It has a session on goal setting for 3 year, 1 year, and quarterly. It has a 30-day tracker to hold you accountable for doing your IAMs, your fuel statement, your I will statements, and you know, your visualizations and things of that nature. But it also takes it in part. It doesn't say do all this on day one. It says, all right, let's focus on this, and tomorrow let's review that and do it again. So like every new segment, it gives you 3 days to practice your I am statements, because you're not going to get it right the first day. In the second day, you're going to tweak it. And the third day, you're going to tweak it. That fourth day, you ought to be pretty clued in on what your I am statements are. So you can get it at coachmays.com. Something cool I want to plug, if you don't mind.
By the
Um,
way,
we're coming out with an online course. It's going to be mainly for high school coaches, regardless of sport, but also college coaches. It's called Building a Culture of Champions, the Blueprint. Building a Culture of Champions, the Blueprint. It's going to be ready mid-September. I'm hoping September 15th, maybe September 20th. We actually are in the studio recording it. It's going to be 6 hours. It's going to have each chapter is going to be an hour. Each chapter is going to have 3 or 4 sub chapters that are 10 or 15 minutes each. And it's going to be real good, valuable information for coaches as they try to develop their own culture of champions. Everything from what we've talked about tonight, from a mental toughness standpoint, from developing mission statements for your program, vision statements for your program, the standards, your beliefs, behaviors, results, reverse engineering that. And then also, like, we're going to have a whole thing on hiring staff. You know, how you should go about hiring staff. The annual matrix, which is sort of how you should set your calendar for the entire year for your program. And then how you should segment it from strength training, from skill training, from practice, from fundraising, from mental development, from leadership development, things of that nature. I'll share that document with them. Fundraising, things that have worked for me in the world of fundraising to help them have more money to invest in their players. Scheduling, the do's and don'ts. And I don't get into X's and O's because that's not really what I'm doing. But it's just about building a culture of champions, and it's a blueprint for what's worked for me. And 6 years of coaching in high school, been 2 Final Fours and 5 state tournaments. And the year we didn't set up the year that we did, the 6th year. And in college, man, our winning percentage, most of those years were as an assistant, but our winning percentage was 79%. And you don't see that on a resume. And so I've been blessed my entire coaching career, when I first got my first check to coach when I was 21, to be a part of winning cultures. Happy Osborne has a lot to do with that. Okay. But man, we won. And so eventually you get to the point where, you know, I mean, at Georgetown, the 7 years I coached there, we averaged 29.7 wins a season. 29.7.
Wow.
Played in 4 Final Fours, 2 national championship games, you know? And that's back when, a lot of the schools that are in Division I now were in NAI. I mean, I remember one year in Final Four, it's Lipscomb and Belmont and us were in the Final Four together, you know? Those two are Division I schools,
Now the
So
D1 school.
yeah, I mean, um, it's just I've always been a part of winning. So none of this is just I'm smarter than everybody else and I've just come up with this. No, it's just over the years, everything that I've been blessed to be around. And I've also had learning experiences from, I was chairman of a board of 2 nonprofits. Well, one municipal board, a Parks and Rec board in Georgetown, Scott County, and then a nonprofit. I've failed at a lot of things. I consider my time as a financial advisor a failure. I've failed at most things. And I don't say that as a defeatist. I say that as it didn't happen to me, it happened for me. So I can be at
Mm-hmm.
this moment right now.
Yes, sir.
Um,
Just prepared you to be where you're at right now.
yeah, man. I mean, uh, we are the August 21st, 2026 version of ourselves is a cumulative effect of all the decisions that we've made prior to today in some form or fashion. So if you can live the rest of your life in the most way possible, think how much more fruit you're going to bear the next segment of your life if all the small decisions you're doing are disciplined decisions, you know?
Absolutely.
Um, it's compounding, man. I mean, when I was a financial advisor, I used to give financial literacy seminars, and this is a unrealistic example. But if I give you a penny today and I double it every day for a month, okay? So tomorrow I give you 2 cents. Third day I give you 4 cents, then eight
So
cents, and 16
exponentially.
cents. Well, it's sort of stupid for the first 2 weeks of the month. And then you get that third week, and you're like, okay, 256,000, 600,000, 1.2 million, 2.4 million, 4.8 million, those last 3 days, 25 million, 50
Mm-hmm.
million. You know what I'm saying? And so where the discipline in compounding comes into play is you got to get to that third and fourth week, man. You got to get to that third or fourth year. You got to get to that third or fourth decade. You know, like you can't quit. We have dips and we have cliffs in our life. There's times we have to quit. Montgomery County, I was at a cliff. Okay. So if I didn't resign, I was going to fall off of and hurt me and other people. Okay. But don't confuse a dip for a cliff. A dip is something you need to go through so you can come out on the other side to a whole new beautiful view and that you would have never seen if you hadn't went through the valley first. Okay. And so don't confuse dips with cliffs. So I'm not saying there's not things in life that you need to quit. There's people in life you need to quit. There's there's activities in life you need to quit. You know, um, but the dips are healthy. Just realize that it's a dip and it's not a cliff.
I got a question for you.
Yeah.
I don't think we've hit on it. Self doubt. Where does that come from?
Obviously, a lack of self belief. I don't want to say self confidence because you have to have self belief in order to have confidence in anything you're doing. You have to believe that you've put in time to reap a reward. Okay. And you don't think that way unless you have self belief. So, if you have self doubt, the first thing I would want to ask the person is why they have self doubt. So, a lot of times it's going to be because of a surface level or materialistic thing, how they look, how much money's in their bank account. Okay. I've struggled with that. Okay. Um, and usually you come to some aspect of they've played the comparison game to somebody else or some other entity, which is such a trap. Okay. When you compare yourself to someone else, as a coach, when I would compare myself to a coach who beat me, when I would compare to myself to a coach who's in the Final Four at state tournament while I'm up there eating popcorn and hot dogs watching it. When I would compare myself as a NAI assistant coach to a Division I assistant who I thought I was as talented as, and he's making $1 million a year and I was making 40,000. Okay. Anytime you compare yourself, most times you compare yourself to another person or another entity, it's when you're at a low point and they're at a high point. So right off the bat, that's unfair to you. And it's really, if they knew that, they knew you were comparing yourself to them, they would probably tell you that. Okay. And then when you do that, what it does is that comparison, it steals your joy. Joy is a biblical word, but such a great word. 3 letters, Joy. You know, what is joy to me? Joy is wanting. Here's what joy is to me. It's uh, wanting what I get, not and just being content with it, appreciating it. And a person told me a long time ago, Don Meyer, actually, he's in the Naismith Hall of Fame, coached at Lipscomb for years, Northern State. He said, happiness is not getting what you want, it's wanting what you get. Okay. So joy is not getting what you want, it's wanting what you get. And when you compare yourself to other people or other entities or other organizations, you're just stealing that from your life. You're not allowing yourself to enjoy what you've been doing. You think I'm making the amount of money right now that I think that I want to make? No. Do you think I've got the client volume that I want to have? No. Do you think I got the social media presence right now that I want to have? No. Do you think I'm speaking in front of audiences that are paying me the checks to speak that I want to make? No. But I ain't comparing myself to Ed Milet and Tony Robbins, because if I did that, it's going to make like all my efforts up to this point look futile. I'm stealing my joy. So a lot of times you have self-doubts because you're comparing yourself to somebody else, and that leads to your self-doubt. So you can't fall for that. All right. Young coaches will do that all the time. Um, my first year at Montgomery County, we were 11 and 18. It was really easy for me to fall in that trap to compare our team to other teams, but I stayed away from it. And I really think that's why we set up for we had a kid named Brecken Decker, Matthew Willoughby, and some other kids that were just great kids that just they're not playing college basketball. Okay. But I knew that if we can max out with that team, it was successful and it was going to set us up for future success. Well, that 11 and 18 team maxed out. It maxed out. And the next year we were 24 and 11, went to the Final Four. And guess what? That team maxed out because we played up to 4 points against Great Crossing at halftime, but I had an assistant say, Coach, game plan's working. We're right. Felix Wilson, who's now an assistant coach at Marshalltown, Iowa, he's like, Coach, man, it's great, because I did something ball screen wise to negate Malachi because he scores so much off ball screen action. Reed Shepard scored so much off ball screens when he was at North Laurel. It was sort of the same thing. And we did something different and it was working. But credit to Steve Page and his staff, they made adjustments at halftime. And once I knew they made adjustments, if they did make adjustments, we had a chance to win a game.
Mm-hmm.
But if they made adjustments, we didn't have a chance of winning. I mean, they had 5 college players on that team. Okay. We were good, but we weren't that good. And we maxed out by getting to that game. We maxed out. And so, that was our state championship because that was the best we could have done. Caden Reed to get on here right now and tell you, Coach is right. We maxed out. We weren't going to beat Great Crossing. That team in Ashton, in the first year, we went to the Elite Eight. Trinity beat us 60-30. And I said, thank you for not beating us 70-30.
Wow.
I mean, we maxed out. And so, and so if I was going to compare, what am I going to do? Negate all the hard work that those kids put in to get to the Final Four because we didn't make the state championship game? No. We maxed out for who we were, for our capabilities, and we're not going to compare that to anybody else's. And so when you have self-doubt, it's probably because you're comparing yourself to other people.
How do you negate that?
Don't do it. um, you gotta reflect on what you're doing right, and that's where your focus needs to stay. Okay. Um, like if it's you, dude, look at your growth. Look at your growth. Look at your weight loss. Look at your business. How much people I know how much you're doing because I'm taking how much risk are you taking by doing this? Not having a 9 to 5 pension funded job, right? You're taking a ton of risk.
Yeah.
Life. I live that life. 95% of people on this planet don't have the gumption to do that. Okay. So I know the boldness and the courage that you're exhibiting every day. I know the risk at this, it could fall away, but look at the growth. So don't compare it to slapping glass or the field of 68 podcasts. Because you know what? Slapping glass has been doing this for about 10 years. Go back and listen to their early episodes. They weren't great either, but they were consistent over a long period of time.
I had to talk with
They,
somebody about that last night.
yeah, just
It's like, you've been
dude,
doing this for 3 months. And I'm like, yep.
dude, your growth. Matter of fact, your probably the most dangerous thing is seduction of success, not getting satisfied.
Yeah, I'm definitely not satisfied. Like, there's so many things I think I can get so much better at, but man, it's like you said about having the courage, like the 9 to 5. I could be teaching, prayer, whatever, but just being passionate about it, and seeing that growth, man, like that. Seeing growth for me just drives me more to see how much further I can grow.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think I could grow enough to be like, oh man, I'm successful. Like, I want to see how high I can go. Like, I want to be one of those people. I don't want to be like, oh, I get to this level, man, and I've made it. Like, I want to see how far I can go.
So every day, tell yourself what that level is. You got to define it. You got to put a date on it. Okay. Um, and but what's more important than that? You have to do that every day. Okay. But then what's more important than that is what are your daily attack actions that's going to take you a step closer to achieving that? See, that's the thing. I write my goals down. I write my affirmations down. Good. And what did you do today besides that? Well, I made 5 sales calls. I made 25 prospecting emails. I scheduled 3 future guests on my podcast. I'm tweaking some stuff on my social media I'm trying to think like what's your activity that's moving the needle? All right. So you can have all those affirmations all you want, but you have to have daily attack actions that, you know, move that needle just a little bit every day. And you start stacking those days with consistent effort and activity. And next thing it's like the iceberg. I love the iceberg analogy. I want to see one day. I guess I have to go like on an Alaskan cruise or something. My wife, she always likes going to the sunny beaches. But when you see an iceberg, you realize that that's about 1/4 of the
Of the iceberg.
mass that is that iceberg, because 3/4 of it is underwater that you can't see, and how it was formed that way. And every once in a while, one will capsize and flip over, and people are just, oh my goodness, I had they've taken pictures of what they can see. So what's going to happen is one day, you're going to have a John Calipari. You're going to have Tom Izzo. You're going to have Pat Kelsey. You're going to have a Mark Pope on here. And that's going to get more views than you've ever got. And you're going to get a lot of people's attention.
But I
And guess
definitely
what?
want to be prepared when that happens.
But guess what that is? That's what everybody sees. What they don't see is the Jason Mays you had on, the Brent Perry that you had on, the sophomore from Grayson County you had on, building up to that point. Okay. Um, and so just keep building, and just have faith and belief that it's going to get there. Um, but yeah, so I mean, I really hope coaches go to coachmays.com, check out the playbook. And then when that, all my platforms are Coach J Mays, Instagram, TikTok, X, Facebook is Jason Mays, Substack is Coach J Mays. My business page on Facebook is Coach Jason Mays, so it's not hard to find me on social media. Um, but I really want people to jump on this building a culture of champions, the blueprint, because it's going to help them. Um, it's real stuff. It's not fluff. It's not motivational word speak. It's actionable items that a class um, uh, Francis Parker High School in Louisville can implement it to build their culture, just like Ballard could. Okay.
So it's
Um,
universal.
oh yeah, man. And I mean, yeah, some people will take different things than others, but I mean, I've never seen anything like this when I was a high school coach. If I would have bought it, I love information. I'll subscribe to everything. you know, I love information. If I can get 1% better by stealing an idea off somebody, boom, it's worth it. Okay. Um, so I hope people check that out. But check the website out. I do a lot of team coaching. I had a great call last night with Hazard's lady basketball team, Lady Bulldogs. They're going to win the
Todd
14th
Howard,
region.
Coach Howard.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're gonna win the 14th region this year. All right. And I'm gonna be right behind the bench with Rip Arena being their biggest fan. I love those girls, that coaching staff. They should have won it probably last year. He'll be the first one to tell you that. And he's like, the missing link is what we're doing with Cognitecture right now. And it's not about me. It's about Coach Howard and his leadership and him being humble enough to realize that I need to add another layer to our program, and this is what he chose. And we've developed their mission, vision, and statement, and standards. Um, Something really cool, man. They're forged in the fire, and so Hazard, Kentucky's a coal town, but it was also a
Hmm.
steel town. So where's coal turned into steel and iron ore in the forge? All right, that's what all these where they would turn iron ore into and coal fired furnaces to power the iron the steel manufacturing was called the forge. And so I got this cool video where there's a lady basketball player in a Bulldog jersey, and she's pounding this piece of iron, and it's got hot. She puts it in the hot fire
It's on
and
social
pounds
media,
it.
isn't it?
And if she flips it, and it's the 14th region KHSA 2027 regional championship trophy, because that's their mantra this year. We're forged in the fire, so they're not running from hard things. So coaches that are interested in going into a season long, mental performance coaching as from a team standpoint, you can book a discovery call with me at coachmays.com/discovery. We'll talk. There's no pressure. It's free. I'm not going to try to say anything unless you see value in it. So, um, but man, we've been on here for almost 2 hours.
I know, man. It's been one heck of a combo. I thought we were going to go for 30 minutes to an hour, but man, it's so interesting and so valuable that I'm just going to sit here and listen, man. I'll soak it all up. Like I know
Yeah.
I'm going to be supposed to be moderating, but I'm going to soak it up as much as I can.
Well, no, I
So
appreciate the opportunity, man.
yeah, man. But before we hop out of here, I appreciate you really do sharing your knowledge and 29 years in coaching, winning at that at that level, that percentage, uh, you know, what do like, what are you gonna do next with this? You got your book, you're trying to do all that. Like, what is your win with this?
Oh, impact as many people as I can. And I know that's a blanket statement. I want to be the number one mental performance coach in Kentucky. All right, that's my 2-year vision plan. So, I'd like to get some college programs. I'd like to work with college programs. When you do that, that's exponential growth. Yes, you get paid well for it, but like now people can see that social proof, and that's when the engine really starts cranking. So, I'm prospecting with college programs. I'm doing a lot of stuff for free right now just to get out there.
Mm-hmm.
I love speaking. Um, I'm a passionate speaker. I'm refining my skills as a speaker. Uh, I talk too much, obviously, but I'm getting better at being more efficient. I love the analogy of using the words effectiveness and efficiency.
Mhm.
If you're effective, you do the right thing. Efficiency is you do the right thing at the right time. You
Yep.
should always be effective and efficient. And so, in speaking, that's the same thing. But when you get to the level of speaking where you're, in a room of 500 to 1,000 people or more, now your business can really take off, and the impact that you can have on the volumes of people is exponential. So I'm just gonna keep grinding until I get there. Um, when the website's revised, it's new. It's really cool if you haven't seen it. We just did a photo shoot on Wednesday. So we got some new graphic stuff coming out, some new hooks and videos. They're on social media. They're going to be coming out in the next 2 or 3 weeks. Probably 50 videos or so. We spent a whole day doing recording and a photo shoot. I'm gonna
So,
write
big
another book.
question.
I'm gonna write another book too.
Are you doing all this on your own, man? Because I'm doing all this on my own. It's very overwhelming, dude.
I got
Like
one guy that I pay. Shout out to Valera Agency, Austin Clark. I mean, you probably know him as a basketball Court Vision, the
yeah.
videographer. He was
Mm-hmm.
Darren Peterson's personal videographer this last year at Kansas.
Yep.
So we got sort of him. I mean, it's not me, but I mean, he was talented. But we sort of really blew him up when I was at Ashland, and he started covering all our games. And then I put him on payroll as a staff member. So he
Oh.
covered everything for a number of years. And then he really grew up, started getting in EYBL and three stripe events, and it was one of those main guys. And then he gets with Phenom United with Darren Peterson's dad. And then, this year he's with Darren Peterson at Kansas, just doing all the behind, day in the life kind of stuff. Well, he's married now and he's, you know, paying real electric bills and gas bills. And so he started his own agency. It's called Valera Agency. So he's designed my website. He's my social media connector. He's sort of my right hand guy as far as showing me how to do the things that I'm not real good at. Like I don't have the I'm better at it than I want to give myself credit for. But I'm better when I'm out prospecting, I'm talking to people, and I'm coaching and I'm speaking. What he's doing is building the infrastructure that does lead generation for me, that does social media automation, that books
The
calls
SEO
for me.
stuff.
Yeah, that's what he's doing for me. So
Yeah, we've been on here for 2 hours, man. It's been a great conversation. Again, guys, make sure you check out Coach Jason Mays, Cognitecture LLC, and his book Mentally Tough, the Playbook. And if you're enjoying what we're building at the Pure Prospects, make sure you subscribe, follow, and share this episode with an athlete, parent, coach, business person, anybody that wants to win in life. Because recruiting is only part of the journey. We're trying to prepare young people to succeed when the opportunity finally arrives. I'm Cody Thomas. This is the Pure Prospects Podcast, and we'll catch you on the next one. Win the next rep, Coach Mays.
thank you, Cody. God bless you, man.
God bless you, buddy.